Last year it was 15-2, 11-6, 10-7. That's the three top teams, and then you had Las Vegas coming in at 4-13. There are the numbers currently. If you want to bet the division right now, Zeno, I got to start with you because if you're looking at the history of the Kansas City Chiefs, the history of Patrick Mahomes, he has never stopped his season before the AFC Championship game. So if you're looking at that, to me, this is a lock. Tell me I'm wrong.
There's no such thing as locks. I will tell you that if there was a year that the Chargers were primed to take the next step, it's this one. The Chiefs have been mortal as they have been in a while. I know they won 15 games last year, but we know the razor-thin margin in which they did that and how quick that is. There's going to be some regression to the mean because that's what happens to teams that win close games every year. They regress to the mean. You get year two of Jim Harbaugh in an offense that's only going to expand, that's got a great quarterback and an excellent defense, and one that is going to be a very tough out in the AFC West. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs because they've won it every year. It's like, remember the Colts with Peyton Manning, who they just won that division every single year? Well, guess what? That's kind of what the Chiefs are. So until somebody does it, it's hard to believe that somebody else will, but it's worth a play on the Chargers here to win this division.
I don't actually argue with that. I don't disagree with that. A plus 310, it's worth definitely a sprinkle. DG, let me come over to you because last year we were sitting right here talking about how literally Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes were getting fat and happy because of their win the previous February and partying all over the world. That's been the opposite this year. Travis Kelce down almost 40 pounds, new haircut, new clothes because of his boo. And so they're taking it serious. But is it too late? Are they too old? Is there not enough talent there?
There is enough talent in KC just because you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, you can put everybody else around this team and you can dissect them completely. But when I look at who is quarterbacking for Kansas City Chiefs, that's all. We can stop there, coach, and just say, hey, it's all about Patrick Mahomes. But you also have a guy and a coach in Andy Reid who is going to lead you the right direction as a football team. They do have a tough schedule. They're having to play teams like obviously the Chargers, and you're going to have to play the Broncos in your division, but you still have Philadelphia, you have Baltimore, you have the Buffalo, even Detroit. There's so many teams that you're having to take on in this their schedule, which is really tough. And because of that, I love the Chiefs. I think they're a really good football team. I don't know if they're the best or a lock to win this division.
Yeah, I've got to take my fandom off, obviously, as the host of the show and being subjective and objective. And also, it's a really tough start, as you alluded to, and then a kind of a tough ending. But I love, Zeno, how the NFL now backloads with division games because then we have a lot of games that we care about when we get to week 14, week 15, week 16. And when you look at it, they end with starting week 13 at Dallas, then Houston, their playoff team, then Chargers. But Houston and Chargers are at home. Then they go to Tennessee. That's sort of an off week, but Cam Ward, and then home against Denver and then at Las Vegas. So to me, it's a difficult road. But when you have Denver in week 17, are we sleeping on the fact that now they're going to have a quarterback who played really well at times as a rookie? And normally in year number 2, you see that quarterback take a gigantic step forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the interesting part of this entire division. This is by far and away the best coach division in all of the NFL. That matters. I mean, the bottom line here is that, when you look at Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, still Sean Payton is the best schemer of any coach in this league, and that includes Andy Reid, right? He turned around and created an entire offense for a rookie quarterback that was actually functional, effective, efficient, put up points, and won a lot of games. There's no other coach in the league who can do that, right? Andy Reid can't even do that. Andy Reid's been blessed with a lot of really good quarterbacks throughout his career, but he's never had to mold a rookie. That's exactly what Sean Payton is really good at. So then you add in Jim Harbaugh, and don't forget Pete Carroll, who's coaching the Raiders here. Guys, you know how many times Pete Carroll has won less than 7 games in his coaching career? Once. One with the New York Jets. Year 1 with the New York Jets. So this is a Raiders team that is going to win 2 division games. They're going to steal a win in a spot that nobody expects them to do it. Look, it might end up being week 17, week 18 against the Chiefs when the game doesn't matter for them. But the Raiders are not going to be as bad as the world wants them to be because guess what? Pete Carroll isn't a bad coach.
I had forgotten, Zeno, that he had coached the New York Jets. It seems so long ago. But the other thing is, I'm glad you brought this up, is they have a last place schedule. And this is what the NFL wants. They want the bad teams to get good, the good teams to be challenged. And so when we look at the Pete Carroll led Raiders, DG, it's not a difficult schedule on paper whatsoever. Before their bye, Patriots, Chargers, Washington, Chicago, Colts, Tennessee. I mean, if they are halfway decent, they could get off to a really good start. Their bye week is in week number 8. And Pete Carroll's that type of coach that gives you a vibe and he gives you the energy that is completely opposite of all the guys they had there before, including Antonio Pierce, who I was on record because I worked with him at ESPN. I was like, he's not a good head coach. He's a good coordinator. And he proved to me right. Do you think the Raiders could surprise all of us this year with Pete Carroll taking over?
This team is led by Geno Smith, who surprised us all a little bit last year in Seattle. And so now you're pairing him up with Pete Carroll. You're bringing in a rookie running back, Aston Genty, who everybody loves, a tight end who's kind of a hybrid tight end, and Brock Bowers. This team is going to win games they shouldn't, but just like bad teams, they're going to lose games that they should. And because of that, they're a scary team to see on your schedule because, as Zeno alluded to, yeah, we're looking at Pete Carroll, who can win ball games just himself. But I think the talent around it will be bad enough just to say that they will lose some games. But this is the hardest division in football because the Oakland Raiders, or not the Oakland, but the Las Vegas Raiders being who they are, they can still surprise teams, and they have a lot of talent still on that team.
Yeah, speaking of talent, you see some of the wide receiver talent on the screen right now. So, Zeno, I ask you this. Give me the order of finish as you see it and how many playoff teams come out of this division of the 7 spots.
I think it's only 2. I would go Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders. And unfortunately, the Broncos may be on the outside looking in.
Interesting. DG, what about you?
Yeah, I still think Kansas City still holds serve here, but I do like the Chargers because they have one of the easier schedules. If you look at their schedule, they're only having to take on 2 teams that were in the playoffs last year. And honestly, that's the away games that they're having to go to. And so because of that, I still think that the Chargers finish second, and then you're going to follow that by the Broncos and the Raiders. But this is still an incredible division. I do think that all 3 of the top 3, I still think they all get into the playoffs.
So we got 2 minutes left here, Zeno, because we're always comparing the Chiefs to the Bills, to the Ravens. How pivotal do you think now with all the changes that's been made, all of the players that have been added, the number 1 seed still is in the AFC?
Well, the bye is everything, and the numbers continue to prove that out. I mean, until a number 1 seed isn't playing in their conference championship game, then we'll take note. But that's really what essentially it is. It's the easiest path to the conference championship game and a chance to be able to go to a Super Bowl. So if you can get that number 1 seed, you'll be playing in the second or third weekend in January.
It's going to be interesting because I think now, DG, we put the Chiefs up here. I mean, every single year AFC Championship, but that number 1 seed, at least for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, something has to change for them to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl and then try and win the Super Bowl. But when we look at this, how much of a player will the AFC West be in the fight for that number 1 seed?
I think they're going to be a huge player because they're going to beat up on each other so much that they're going to take the Chiefs or whoever might win this division out of the number 1 potential overall seed. I think that's going to go to Buffalo. I think that they're the best regular season team this season. Plus, you got a pissed off Josh Allen. I don't know if there's anything better than a pissed off Josh Allen. I would do whatever for that guy because he is the best player, the best football player in the NFL. I don't care who you put up there. I love Josh Allen and the player he is.
And he's happy. He has his money. And remember, he did not take every last dime that he could have gotten. He said, I want to take care of the team. He just got married in the offseason. So I think he's the right guy to lead this team. But now he does not want to have the label, gentlemen, of the Dan Marino of this last 10 or 15 years. He doesn't want to be that guy. Gentlemen, great job breaking down the AFC West. Now, coming up tomorrow, we start looking at the NFC as our God, I don't even know how many days it is, but I know we're counting down to September 4th, Thursday night, the Eagles and the Cowboys.